measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below this video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Robert Edward, Pablo de la Cruz, Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, JMails24, Unimento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnells, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon, as I say, are below this video. But with that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I've stuck a message in Masturbation. If you need any flyers or graphics or anything to try and tout some work for yourself, Neil, give us a shout and I'll knock something up for you, buddy.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I just been going on to there's so much work going on in Alabama. I mean, apartment complexes going up. So thing is, you got to find out who's in there because all of that shit's done on paper. They got who's going to do the walls, who's going to do the painting, who's going to do the floors. And I'm just trying to worm my way in with a flooring guy. And it looked like this was going to be the one, but freaking bullshit, man. Like they'll take you in, but not as an employee, as like a company, even if you're by yourself. And then you gotta provide all the insurances and shit. It's like you freaking, it's just freaking weird out here. Then this one I was looking at, independent, thought I had it, man. I didn't say a word to nobody because I didn't want to freaking jinx it. All right? Gets down to the freaking ordering. And they want to go with a freaking well-known company because they feel safer. Don't call me when the shit comes out bad and you want me to fix it.
Should have, buddy. We'll get there.
Yes.
Yes. I applied for freaking disability anyway because I need something coming in. So I think I got an interview for that, which sucks because that means I'm old. I don't feel old, but I am. 61 in May. But that makes me eligible for disability. So
tell yourself that. Tell yourself that you are what you are and you're as fit as you are. I was watching a shorts video about some tests that they did where they shoved a load of men in their 60s and 70s room or into an environment where everything was set 20 years earlier. So if they did this in the 60s, they set everything in the 40s, right? And they're like, pretend that you are that person in that time. And they just watched to see if they improved, and they did, because they weren't considering themselves old. So if they weren't telling themselves, well, my back does that now, or well, that's just because I'm getting old and my body's failing. It's like, no. If you tell yourself, well, you're just as fit as you were 20 years ago, how much decline do you think you could possibly have gone? Don't even think about it, and there's a good chance that you'll be fitter for it. You know, you'll feel better.
It's not you. It's the people. They don't want they're going to choose a 25-year-old over a 60-year-old. It's just the facts, you know?
No.
Especially in a company.
No, not necessarily, because back when you were 25, I'm sure you were like, no, they want the veterans to do these jobs. I'll never get this job because they want somebody who's an old hand doing it, and I'm just a scrote, and they won't give it. You know, you can have
the
same attitude.
veterans die. Here's the deal with that. They consider you a veteran from 45 to 55. After 60, you old, buddy, and we're not going to hire you. That's just the way it is, no matter what. But that's fine. There was a time when I could, listen, you got to face the facts. There was a time when I could outwork these young guys. I can't no more. Can't do the freaking things that some of these jobs require. I freaking can't.
Fair enough.
Physically. What are we doing today?
I don't know. I've got no plans. I've been moving my acoustic treatment around. So
I thought you said something about a video.
No, that wasn't me. That was. I remember someone else. Someone else said that, not me.
Might have been one deck.
Whoever. I mean, if there's a video that gets provided, I will cover it. Provided it's not complete garbage, of course. But
what we were talking about, Nathan, when you weren't there, is maybe like if we could go to one of them freaking old books to see where their mindset was at. If we can pull like a robot them. Like we did it yesterday when we were in the hangout. We took some of Eric Dubé's 200 proofs and to see where his head was at, to see how we would answer them today. And here we go. Here's the messages already, Etta Bear. I'm not looking at them, Etta Bear. I'm not looking at them. I'm not answering them. Give it up. I just freaking messed up. I hope you're not recording.
Yes, I am.
Shit. Anyway, so we're looking at some of his things and how we would answer these things today to put a light on what your book is going to be. None of these books have what your book is going to have, the measured flat aspect of it.
Okay, so if that's something you want to do, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I've been meaning to for a while cover Level Plain Poems book. So let's just put my on. Where's my lights and stuff? Right, so this book is Flat Earth Fun Facts. This one was addressed to my wife Paula, and it's by Level Plain Poem, who's one of my patrons, who was kind enough to send me these over for the States at great expense. So I haven't read it yet, but there is one tab I noticed with the experiment. Aristophanes assumed the Earth was a sphere made up of 360, then assumed parallel rays from the sun. While corpuscular rays debunked that with ease, he assumed the distance between the two cities, just an estimation, while he assumed the sun went directly over the well, but its latitude proves that miscalculation. I might read this on the live show. Even if the figures he put into the equation prove an answer that works out mathematically, what difference does that make if the information he entered was not true, correct, factual, credible, valid, or acquired scientifically? Discovering the insane amounts of anomalies and discrepancies has actually been really fun, because in the end, the setup of his experiment only proves a small and local sun. So this is old school rhetoric in this book by Level Playing Poem. Now, I don't want to pour scorn in any way on Level Playing Poem. Oh, no, it's got me. It's the next bit that's doing it. Okay. So in the next section, it's actually going into, so that's a lead up. That's like the baller position being presented by Level Playing Poem, steel manning it, if you will. And then she's going into the horizontal baseline and lack of curved adjacent. That's why the tab, so it's the next page. Like I say, I haven't read this. You can probably tell already with me not knowing what's being highlighted with tabs and why. So given that that is, at least in the heading experiment, quite a lot of old school rhetoric in terms of if that was the only thing that's being presented. Now, she obviously goes on to explain how you can't have a curved adjacent, like the baseline must be part of the triangle that you're measuring with respect to the horizon to navigate the ground, and how that triangle must be horizontal. So it's got a diagram showing exactly that. So I will plug this book today. This is Level Playing Poem Flat Earth Fun Facts by Tamara Cheville. So let's cover this. I think that's better.
Yeah, but that's what we were saying. We didn't want to pour scorn on anybody, but just see where they were at then and see where we're at now. We did think about that. Like, we don't want to dog anybody to make your book sell. You know what I mean? We don't want to say Chevy sucks, buy my Ford.
Not at all.
But we want to like compare to where the mindset is at.
Exactly. So it's one of them that the rhetoric is constantly evolving, and when you're at the tip of the spear, you know, the edges further down are blunt by comparison. It's just the way it goes. But by the same token, it means that I get an opportunity to talk about the third of fourth books, admittedly doing exactly what I said I'd rather not, which is go through it without having previously read through the whole thing and decided which bits I want to talk about on the live show. In this case, I've got one tab, not mine, put in by her, you know, and it's about me, so it's like really selfish to cover it in that way. But by the same token, you know, it's an opportunity to promote a book, so why not? I've still got the fourth in four that I will go through in more detail before bringing it up on the show. But I think I'm into this now, aren't I? I've grabbed it. It's here. Let's use this book. It satisfies what you want to do. If she's upset with me because it's like, oh, you're pointing out old school rhetoric and saying that that's bad in a book that I want to promote. It's like, no, doesn't, you know, in any way devalue the premises that are used throughout the book if we happen to cover something that on the fly comes across badly. I just don't think it would, when especially it's my own rhetoric that she's got on the page with a highlighted, this is from Flat Earth Debate and Nathan Oakley. So there we go. Coolio. Right,
Well, that's even better, Nathan, because you're adjusting your own rhetoric.
No, my rhetoric's the same. What she's got in the book is standard fare. Although it is partly housekeeping, any evidence that you can have a curved adjacent, right? So it is from that perspective, obviously, when she's published this particular Level Playing Poem iteration, Fun Facts, Flat Earth Fun Facts, as the name is. I mean, hopefully someone, is there anybody in here that can grab her link from last time? Because I have no idea, and I need it to go by in the live stream chat. Do you remember where it ended up coming from last time, Neil?
No, I was never able to get her link.
Oh, well, you need to get a link. We need a link to it. Can you put the word out? Because it's 2 minutes before the live stream. God.
Yeah, I'll do that.
No Divergent Droid at the moment. He's not well, and he's dealing with his mother. We'll go live.
Yeah, but CC takes care of that too. Let me see if I can get him.
Well, ideally, we just need a link for tomorrow's book, or Level Playing Poem, I should say. Yeah. We'll get one and we'll cover it on the live show. Right, let's go live.
Morning.
How are you? Yeah.
Who are you asking? I always wonder. Should I be responding? Or someone else ask me?
Everybody.
Are you asking generally? How's everybody doing?
How are you?
I'm all right. I've been shuffling around acoustic treatment, so I'm sure I've mentioned it on the last 5 shows since I decided to bite the bullet and spend the money, which is a good and a bad thing. A guy called Michael has been contributing to me for years, probably the longest standing contributor that I have, and he goes out of his way to send me money via PayPal. Now, typically, I give that money to my wife because she's currently helping me edit my book. So I've said, yeah, I'll give you all the money that I get from PayPal. Now, in this instance, having decided I want to buy acoustic treatment that I couldn't quite afford, I was like, I'm going to use that particular regular payment and tell my wife, actually, this one's going towards acoustic treatment. So then I ordered the 650 quid's worth of acoustic treatment. It was slightly more, but I've negotiated a good deal with the supplier, who I'm obviously a regular customer for, so I knew how to contact the right person to get myself a 10% discount, and then sold a £100 microphone minus fees. That was like 93 quid. So I'm like, pretty good in that regard. You know, it's gone from 650 to about 500 quid that I've actually spent, thanks to a long-standing contributor and a microphone that I flogged. That was a 200 quid microphone that I punted out half price to the next watcher just because I wanted to turn it into a cash immediately. So I've sold a very expensive mic half price to get cash, and now I'm only 500 quid down for treatment that I can't really afford, but I want to get it done. So I want this whole space to be filled, and I've jiggled around what was formerly this backdrop. It's essentially in the same sort of position that the camera, that is, that it would be normally, albeit with the former arrangement of what you can see in shot being spread out differently. And then I've got 2 more panels that are coming, and 1 more to fill a gap that you can just see next to me. There's a box missing that's a bass trap, and then that's this wall looking uniform and nice and good for doing interviews and going on shows and looking a bit more professional rather than just sounding good, as the chances are that they want me on camera the whole time based on previous appearances. That's generally the idea. They want to see a smiling, happy face, so I want that with a nice uniform backdrop. And so I've
Why don't you just do what all the dweebs do, Nathan, and use a green screen? You could even put yourself in the ISS. That would make them very happy.
I mean, I have actually got that technology, so I've already got it programmed into the system. I don't know if I can do it on the fly. I'll have a look, but the green screen technology, all I've used it for is to slightly blur the background, so you kind of draw around yourself and decide how much fade you've got between the background. But then I've reintroduced the background as itself and blurred it slightly. That was all I ever used it for. So I didn't really want to be on the ISS, and it ended up with I can tell that it's like a cutout, like you've got a cutout shape around you, and the processor's got to figure out how to move that cutout on the fly. And occasionally, like with any green screen, you see that it's cutting around their face. I couldn't hack it mentally. It just drove me nuts, past tense. But that's all I've ever used it for, just to blur the background slightly when it was all Lego. But that's partially why I don't want to, give up getting the acoustic treatment finished, because it will look much better without having to blur cameras and things. It'll just be lots of hexagons behind me, and I think it'll look ace. Oh, I mean, it will look ace, I'm sure of it. Anyway, this acoustic treatment stint will run out. I mean, fortunately, I have gone through this mill 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years since COVID, right? So 6 years probably, which is when I started treating this room. So maybe even longer than that. I've been treating this room for a long time. Like every birthday and Christmas, all I've asked for is panels for ages. And this, I can't see or envisage getting any more, because there's no more space to put them. Every surface is covered in panels. There are a couple of exceptions right down low, but even then, I might squeeze 2 more if I really tried hard. But for the most part, every single surface of the room, bar windows, is covered in acoustic treatment now. With the exception of the bit right behind me, like the only bit that matters, the bit on camera, because that was the first bit I did. But yeah,
You would think you'd take care of that first, right?
I did. Well, that was the first bit I treated. So I treated the wall behind me because that's what the mic's pointing at. So that was the most critical wall to get treated. So I did it first. But obviously, when you've only got 2 or 3 panels, you kind of try and spread it out over a wall in such a way that you've got a lot of surface area covered and it's all evenly spaced. as opposed to what it'll end up, which is just the whole wall being treated. But I've never been able to afford to buy more than a couple of panels at a time, and I have for years, and now it's nearly done. But it'll look mint, and the rest of the room matches. That is to say, from my position where I'm sat, it looks glorious, but on camera it doesn't. Looking back the other way doesn't look so great, but it will.
So wait a second. So you were saying that when you first put those up, you knew that you were going to eventually go throughout the whole room?
No, what you learn very quickly when you start acoustic treatment, it's like crack, right? You try it and you go, oh, that's really good. It makes a big difference. That sounds better. And then you go, I can hear flutter echo from there and there. And suddenly you identify the flaws more. And you go, well, I will treat those spaces. And then you realise that each time you treat, after the initial, I notice a difference and all the imperfections more, each time you treat, the needle moves a tiny bit. Right, so you just have to keep going until essentially every bit of every surface is covered in acoustic treatment. Then it's finished, and then you go, I wish I had a bigger room to fit more treatment in, because it's never ending. Trying to push the needle a little bit. I mean, the bass traps that I've bought will attenuate the room's worst frequency, one room mode, which is 37 hertz. It's I won't give you the maths to bore you tits off you, but this is my dweeby stuff, right? The quarter wave fits in the room in a certain dimension, and that will be the frequency that booms and resonates, right? At the length of the room. There's 3, one for the ceiling, one for the width, one for the length. Those room modes translate into a frequency and are loudest where the pressure, that's where the wave of sound hits the wall, where it presses on the wall and then comes back the other way. So there's 2 different ways of treating it. One is to catch it as it moves, that's velocity, or counteract the pressing on a wall, that's pressure. Well, pressure traps, each time you add one, you attenuate the sound by 0.5 dB. So you're adding loads of thick treatment along the walls, which is helping. It's slowing, it's taking out some of the velocity of that wave. But when it hits the back wall, you've just got to take it out at its core by having something sympathetically resonate at the same frequency. That's a trap. Well, the traps, like I say, until you start getting multiples bigger than 2, which is what I've got currently, I'll add a third, you're not really pushing the needle very much in terms of the extraction of huge bass frequencies, which are really difficult to treat. So the way to counter that is to have a bigger room and have more space for more treatment. That's the only way you can deal with it. So that the contrast is that the smaller the room, the worse it is to try and treat it. Therefore, the more treatment it needs in a small room. And any room in anybody's house is considered a small room. It's not like a stadium or a auditorium. You know what I mean? It's a small room.
Right. When I say you would have done behind you first, that meant vertically, but you didn't know it at the time, and you were learning as you were going. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. You don't know what you're doing. You just have to bite the bullet at some point and buy a panel. So I bought the most expensive panel that they offered at the time, which was 250 quid, and it still is, actually. It's the same price. So the panel behind me is the first panel I bought, and it is huge and chunky and on its side so that I could get it all in one camera shot with me, just my head and the panel single behind me. Whereas as time's progressed, you're like, that's a crap angle. And it means your head's sort of in a vice because you can't move if you do want to be on camera. Whereas I want to be able to have lots of space around me so that if I go from my presentation position, which is this, which is comfortable, to how I end up in the show, which is with my feet up quite literally on the stool like that. I want to be able to turn the camera on and berate somebody from the comfort of the relaxed position in this particular reclining chair. So, from that perspective, I need more space. And if it's just the, framing of one panel behind me, then you're not going to get much more than a headshot. Whereas what looks nice on camera is above your fat belly and a little bit of space, headroom as they call it, above your head. So, just enough to have the camera not visible, things like that, right? Where is the camera if not visible? The mic not visible, I should say. My shotgun mic out of frame. Not that you can see that on the vertical view if you're watching this on a mobile phone. Shout out to you all. Right, that was a solid 10 minutes of talking about acoustic treatment. Should do some flat earthing.
Well, now I look for that Adam sent me a link, but I don't know if that's the link you need for a level playing poem.
Oh, I hope so. Well, let's just get straight into that now. You've mentioned it, so it follows on. So in the pre-show, Neil was saying, why don't we look at some of the old school rhetoric? And I dobber in. Tamara, the author of Flat Earth Fun Facts in this particular instance, let's do it so it's appearing in the vertical view as well, noted that some of the newer rhetoric was kind of not tarnishing, but inconsistent, let's just say, with some of the rhetoric from the poems from her books. Now, she said that in a very jovial way, and Neil was like, let's look at an Eric Dubay book, and now that would be equally as worthy, and just sort of see how old rhetoric compares to new rhetoric. So I just happened to grab the third of four books that I was going to cover between now and when my own comes out from Level Playing Poem. Now, this one was actually specifically addressed to my wife Paula with a handwritten tab, and I mean, no doubt, although I haven't checked, it's probably got a note to her on the inside. Yes, indeed, it has. So I'll ask my wife to read this. But I've not been through this book. But what I said to Neil was, I mean, no doubt that I, on the fly, could probably find a page that is, semi-consistent with what we do now, but demonstrates it being older school rhetoric from years gone by. And what do you know, the tab, unbeknownst to me, that was actually covering the highlighted section by the author, that's Tamara, about this show. So it's got Flat Earth Debate and Nathan Oakley 1980 specifically mentioned on a tab in this book that she's been kind enough to include me in, right? Now, my section's about having a 90 degree below the zenith of a star, utilisation of a triangle in celestial navigation, and not being able to have a curved adjacent. That's the Where's the Proof titled section about Flat Earth Debate specifically. But in the pre-show, we read out the page prior. Having not gone through it, I didn't realise that's what the tab was for. And it's about something called The Experiment. Now, our old school rhetoric was to undermine the hijacking of scientific vernacular like experiment when you're just measuring flat earth elevation angles to the sun in the case of Eratosthenes. But I'll just read this. The Experiment. Eratosthenes assumed that the earth was a sphere made up of 360 degrees, then assumed parallel rays from the sun. While corpuscular rays debunk that with ease, he assumed the distance between the two cities. Just an estimation, while he assumed the sun went directly over the well, but its latitude proves that miscalculation. Even if the figures he put into the equation provide an answer that works out mathematically, what a difference does that make if the information he entered was not true, correct, factual, credible, valid, or even acquired scientifically? Discovering the insane amounts of anomalies and discrepancies has actually been really fun, because in the end, the setup of his experiment only proves a small and local sun. That's Level Playing Poem. Let's put it into the aspect again that you can see in the vertical feed. And this is Flat Earth Fun Facts by Tamara Cheville. And it was very kindly sent by the author, that's Tamara, to me at her expense. And that, along with two previous books that we have covered already on Flat Earth Debate, I'm hoping one of my mods has dug out a link for you, the audience, to be able to acquire one of these books from Tamara, or from wherever it is that she has them produced. And I'm going to cover one more of these books. Now, this one I've not read, as I mentioned. When I grabbed it, I'm like, well, rather than doing an Eric Dubay book that I don't physically have, let's read out that. Now, the only thing that we would probably turn our noses up is the notion of a claim of a small and local sun, when obviously the acquisition of an elevation angle, as detailed specifically by the author, much to my delight when I found it on the next page, about me specifically pointing out that you can't have a curved adjacent when you're measuring a triangle that's got a right angle for celestial navigation, areas of equal altitude, lines of position, and ultimately your fix. That's to say where you are, so you're not going to die at sea, having got lost. So there we go. That's her book. I'll plug it one more time. Level Playing Poem, Flat Earth Fun Facts. And this is the third in a series of 4 that have been sent, and I'll cover the 4th at some other juncture. But ultimately, that's why we've covered it, so that we, as a panel now, can discuss some of the old school rhetoric, maybe small and local suns where we'll start. Please don't hate me, Tamara. Thank you again so much for sending the books.
I put a link in the chat. Craig sent the link. I think that's it.
Brilliant. I want the audience to be able to, find their way to these books, as she has been kind enough, that's Tamara, has been kind enough to send them to me, as I say, at a great expense, getting them through customs and paying the duty for me. And, it cost me not a dime, and cost her quite a significant chunk to get me these books so I could see that I'm getting shouted out in them. You're like, oh, very, very kind of her. Such generosity will not come anybody's way with regards to my book. Far from mentioning people have changed their names and invented new ones. No one wants to get sued, right? That's something, should I mention? When it comes to reading the book, part of... You're not supposed to have in-jokes. In-jokes are very frowned upon. What's an in-joke? An in-joke is, in the theatre, you and the rest of the cast and crew might have seen a vase fall over. One of the props got smashed. Now, if a joke arose from that smashing of that vase that only the cast saw, and they told that joke during a performance about something that only the cast would know about, that's called an in-joke. Well, they're very much frowned upon. You'll normally see actors engaging in in-jokes in outtakes for movies and such like. Well, an in-joke is allowed if it's universally translatable. So although it is an in-joke, you, the inside group, understands the premise of the joke. As long as the external group, the wider audience, also can appreciate the joke in general, then it has a deeper meaning for the inside group and is just a general frivolity for anybody looking in. So for that reason, what I've done is changed all of the names. Occasionally come across them as we're going through the 8th draft. Is it 8th? I think it's 8th. Whatever. The 8th draft, and saying, oh no, that needs to change. So I might as well just drop this one in. I haven't, to my knowledge, said any of them on a live show. But Bill Whittle is someone that we've specifically named in the book. We covered him doing a show called Make It Stop, which is so telling in terms of a title, because he's talking about a flat earth. And it's like, at that particular time, we were describing people and their behaviour by reaction as, our reaction, that is, as being share your pain. Well, when you say, make it stop, that's Bill Whittle, right? Well, anyway, in case he doesn't, see this, we'll hope that nobody passes on that I've changed his name. I won't actually, that's what I'll do to keep myself safe and sound. I won't mention what we've changed his name to, because then you just have to guess. And if it just coincidentally is that particular person, then you'll see that name and go, I see the association. All of them have got a loose association, right? So if it was, Edmund Seesaw, you'd change it to, Ed Wood Roundabout. You know what I mean? It's close enough that you can get it if you know the person, but far enough away that it's definitely a different name. So that's, one of the things that we've done. But it's fun, as you're reading through, if you're on the inside and you're like regular watcher of the show, trying to figure out, well, who's this person and how many paragraphs can you get down the story or anecdote before you go, I know exactly who this is, if you don't get it from the name, But some of them you'll just go, I know that is just from the change of name from being on the inside. If you're just an external, like I say, wider audience member reading the book, you'll just read a name and it's just a name. Now, some of the names are amusing, right? One of them's Gobbling Dogs. Well, Gobbling Dogs is quite an amusing name. Well, as you come across that and read it, you're like, Gobbling Dogs, what the hell does that mean? Well, nothing, it's just a made-up name. But, for the sake of the amusement of somebody who's on the inside, they go, now who's Gobbling Dogs? I wonder. Good fun. I'm really enjoying going through it. We started doing the 8th draft read-through. So my wife had done a whole bunch of jiggery pokery, moving the chapters into a seemingly correct order, adding anecdotal chapters to the ends of chapters that were actually about that subject to begin with, things of that sort of nature. But now it's in an order. We're reading through it. What chapter did we get to yesterday evening, hun? We got to chapter 3. So that's a testament to how little editing there is needing to be done to these chapters. So it's always a concern that you'll go through the 8th draft as we are now and go, God, there's loads of editing that still needs to be doing. And yes, there is still changes that are being made and things that aren't quite making full sense. One of them was talking about gyroscopes. It's being introduced into the subject because it's being utilised, that's a gyroscope, by an individual. And whilst introducing the topic of gyros, I'm preemptively explaining what gyros do in regards to like straight and level flight and not crashing in an aeroplane. So I'm prefacing it whilst explaining a character who's about to use it for a different purpose, whilst making the audience acutely aware of how flat Earth is being utilised by gyroscopic motion for straight and level flight. Well, in terms of a convolution of discussion points, that's me giving it to you, the audience, in a way that's relatively consistent verbally. But if you listen to it back, I've probably got quite a lot of redundancy in how I've described it. And when you're reading it, you just want it to introduce a concept, that's gyroscopic motion. Describe what you're talking about it with, that's a gyroscope. Introduce a character who's about to use that tool, whose name will not be mentioned, and then explain how the use they're about to put it in future tense too is incongruent with what the tool actually does. That's prove a flat Earth. So that's quite a lot to get into one flowing nice sentence. So we came across this like in chapter 3 and then ended up spending 25 minutes or more going, how do we rephrase this sentence to, encapsulate that you're talking about flights that are utilizing a tool that someone else that you've just introduced is about to use in the future. You're like, oh God, it just needs a bit of spit and polish to make these sentences work. But beyond that, the meat of the chapters is there in all instances so far. I mean, we've only read back through 3, but it's really good having edited it, and you pour your sweat and heart into making the material as good as possible and flow nicely and keeping the audience member, reader in this case, engaged with the material. Make sure it's not too boring, because it is easily wanderable into boring territory, man. That's my biggest concern, that when we're talking about Aristophanes or elevation angles or some of the stuff that we're currently mocking our opponents for, right? This is my concern, is I say you're boring fart sniffers when you want to talk about orbital motion, gravity, Coriolis effect, elevation angle, Salnav, any of these things. They're just dull. I can't be honest. So me being an author, not quite published yet, but nevertheless having just written a book, you want the book to flow in a way that is captivating, or I think that's the right word, captivating for the person reading it. That's to say they are captivated by the material, that can be easily seen as dull and used to give them a revelation if they haven't already recognised how flat Earth is, but simultaneously satisfy a perceived former opponent that may not like the way I present their belief in a ball, and indeed demolish it in a way that is happily acceptable by a reader that's, in our own quote marks, flat earthers. So there's a lot of people to satisfy in terms of not letting the person, most importantly, that's outside of our group, because that's the wider audience, that's everyone else, get bored. You want it to be exciting. So I really hope it's doing that. Some of the stuff, like I say, the material is a bit tedious, and it's one thing to mock our opponents for how tedious and valuable they see this information as, because the wider audience didn't see it valuable. Well, I've now got to take that shit and polish it. I've got to give a good gleam to that dog turd and make Aristophanes measuring frickin' angles seem exciting.
Well, we seem to have somebody in the chat that's a little bit confused. Do you want me to read it real quick?
If you will. I don't care.
Euclidean axiomatics is built on a plane. It should end right there, right, Nathan? And all applied science, it should end there too, is built on Euclidean geometry. In non-Euclidean geometry, namely spherical geometry, a great circle is a circle whose radius is equal to the radius of the sphere itself, and whose center coincides with the center of the sphere. Non-Euclidean geometry doesn't work because the 6,300 kilometer straight line is part of a great circle.
Sorry, I tuned out for a minute there. Can you say some of that again? Because it was really exciting.
You tuned out when I did, when it said plane.
God, I was getting into that, Neil.
You want me to repeat it, or are you just playing around?
I don't care. I switched off about half a sentence into the one after you described our Euclidean principles are flat. You highlighted that, and then now what else is there to do? It's just this is silly. What are we doing again? I don't know. Like I say, if I'm trying to appease somebody who's seemingly my opponent, I've got to represent this boring shit, haven't I? Right? And do a good job where they go, no, he hasn't missed out huge chunks of our information in this chapter for the sake of brevity or conciseness. You know, he's represented it as best he can and then taken a big fat dump on it. But ultimately, I'm past this now, right? I don't want to pour scorn on my opponents for having this stuff be dull, which it is, and then go, oh, this has fired all the right chemicals in my brain to suddenly engage with this boring shit. It's like, I've spent 10 years learning this boring shit. It was pushing out other stuff that was probably a lot more useful. And there's a reason now that we've assessed it all and gone, okay, so Earth's just measured flat, that most people in the general public go, nah, it's not worth my time. What's that? Space and travel into the moon and stuff. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll just accept it if that's the common rhetoric. Greater men than I have obviously dedicated their mental energy to that, which I find quite dull and just don't really want to. There's a Simpsons bit where Homer and Bart are fighting over the remote. It goes on the floor, swaps the channel, and it's a launch, a NASA launch. And the announcer goes, on today's mission, we have a mathematician together with a statistician, and the third crew member is another mathematician, and they're going to be travelling out to the satellite Gemini 5. That's what's bumbling out of the screen. While that's happening, Bart and Homer are fighting with the most intense intentions to get this shit off their screens as quickly as possible. Going, it's boring, change it! Because it is, yeah? Even to Bart, who's supposed to be about, 9-10 years old, the key demographic for this boring shit, even he's finding it tedious because he's out with his catapult and graffiti can, right? To the cool kids, this is boring. To the dweebs, who at this key age, Bart's age, are going, wow, a spaceship. Not Bart and Homer. They find it incredibly tedious and they're not interested in it. And they want to change the channel as quickly as possible. Yeah. Now, we found a revelation through Conspiratardia that Earth was flat. All very exciting when it was presented and packaged up with Mark Sargent's clues, if that's how you came to this subject, looking down my camera barrel, right? You know, Chapter 1, The Empty Theatre. You know what I mean? Well, that seems exciting. Then you get 10 years into it and go, no, it was actually all very dweeby. Like going out to Santaland, outer space, Narnia, and rocket ships in sky vacuums, and there were no Jedis, there was no lightsabers, it was all a big lie. Superman wasn't spinning the world the other way around. They just gave us that impression with movies, the lying bastards. You're like, okay, what's it all boiled down to then? Well, it's just measured flat. It's actually really boring and simple. There's nothing much to it, really. It's just measured flat, Earth, that is. Well, what about the ball that we all thought we were on? Yeah, that gets made with the flat Earth measurements. There's not much to it. Yeah, when you understand how the trick's done, you're turning your measurements of a flat plane with a protractor view into the surface. That's it. It's really basic. Here's a picture of it. There you go. It's dead easy. It's not complicated at all. Earth's just a giant protractor. Like, if the latitude numbers with degrees on it didn't give it away, then I don't know what would have done. But there you go. There's a shorthand version. Earth's measured flat. Earth's glorified protractor. The latitude lines represent the North Pole centric system that's measured flat to create it. There's nothing else to it. But what? Copernicus and orbital motion and retrogrades and... they seem exciting if you've got a telescope. But like Bart, his telescope's in a cupboard with his karate costume and various other fads that he's got lost interest in. But you thought it was valuable, talking to our formerly perceived as opponents. You thought it was real valuable. You invested in that, and now you're very annoyed that we're saying it's not real. Yeah. It's all very amusing at the moment. Flat Earth is a fun subject. And I'm enjoying it more, having to being able to look back retrospectively, I think the word is, at housekeeping and 10 years of debate, 12 years or whatever it is for me in this subject. It's interesting because you go, that's then. I can associate a lot of key points with milestones for my eldest and youngest daughter in terms of their life as they've grown up as kids as I've gone through this process. And that's beautiful, that I can associate my career, which this is, with my kids and experiencing them growing up, having homeschooled them. Delightful. I look back with great fondness, and it's summarised in the book with anecdotal information, jape names and, fun stories that are a bit more lowbrow. It's talking about people rather than the concepts of the heliocentric endeavour. But, it's just it's a wonderful time at the moment. I'm really excited. The only downside is my views have sort of plateaued a little bit. They're normally on the constant growth. They've kind of flattened out. And a few people have deserted me. Like, half a dozen subscribers gone over the course of maybe a month or two. Why? Well, because we're saying you're fart sniffers too on the flat earth side. We're learning this heliocentric shit. You saw what the dweebs valued and braced against you online and thought, I'll have some of that dweeby boring stuff. And now you value it too, becoming fart sniffers. Which is a shame, because that meant I've had a slight dip in my, ultimately always growing statistics. So it's a bit of a plateau. That's not as good as I would hope. You want to see constant growth, right? Well, I haven't necessarily got that at this particular time, but moving forward, I've got a book to promote and hopefully a few channels to go out and promote them on. That will address that, and then everything will be roses rather than just most of my life being roses. And I'm really poor, but that kind of goes without saying. Support me on Patreon.
Well, the book will remedy that. Yeah, it's the same people coming in chat every day, Nathan. They have names like Neil Protects the Gullible or One Angle Proves Stupid. I mean, do I need to entertain these people? I try to answer them. People in the chat try to answer them, and they won't have it. So my message to them is go in peace.
Didn't we used to have a little blessing? Radius Dominus Spiritus Sanctus, Amen. Go in peace, in R you trust.
Beautiful. Did you hear that, everybody? Go in peace. Like, Nathan, why would somebody spend so much time making stock account after stock account, coming in here just to tell us what they think is correct when we know it's not? What would motivate somebody to be so persistent? Like, the first time somebody says get lost, I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know, maybe they get...
They need the argument, don't they? Sorry,
okay,
Dave.
One Deck. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good, mate, yeah. Yeah, we've been over this previously. They want the argument, that there is an argument to stay alive, to feed their ego, to feed their belief in the globe, which is measured flat. And that's what they're doing, by any means that they can. Ad hominem attacks, whatever they need to do to get a reaction back to keep this going for them in their mind. That's what they're doing at the moment, and it's quite entertaining to watch, actually.
So Euclid created a globe by rotating a circle on a flat plane. That's what I got to deal with? Really? And they want me to take them serious. We're speaking about reality here. Nobody has ever experienced anything other than flat. And when people have gone out, cartographers, people that make maps, people that survey the land, people that sail the seas have measured it flat. That's it. It's very simple. This is not complicated.
Yeah, it's all summed up in the theme tune of the song now. At the beginning, One Deck, the song that you took notes on things that I was spitting on the show, and then it turned into If Earth Was a Big Roast Chicken. Well, that summarises everything that Neil's just said. So I'm talking to my wife about her appointments today. My bad. Sorry, what was the last thing we were talking about? I was distracted for a second. Oh, well, I'm glad we got that cleared up. What were you saying, One Deck?
I think we were just saying how the Greeks measured flat, and it was supposedly a curve measurement, and they measured flat, and that's supposedly globe proof.
That's pretty out there. Let's be honest. Yeah. Oh, thank you, hun. Well, I've got myself a drink now.
Like, how many times do I have to time out Batman and Oakley? You're coming in with a name like that, I'm going to time you out. But they're persistent, Nathan.
Nothing much changes in that regard. I mean, being trolled by dweebs. And that's all it boils down to, right? Most people troll until they get banned and then go somewhere else because they haven't got a million sock accounts. But dweebs know how to create sock accounts. so they can. Well, you're not getting rid of me. Even though you despise me, I'm staying here anyway. You're like, oh, really?
Okay, so you're going to come with a name like at Batman and Oakley, and you say something like this. This is funny, Nathan, because Earth is so large that a pilot can practically not care. The rest is handled by the instruments.
Okay. What, not care about how flat it is? Or how globe-shaped it is?
They don't care because they're flying over a flat plane. Once they level off at 30,000 feet, they could just chill out until they're given another set of directions to maybe descend. Or maybe when they're coming in for, getting close to the airport, they got to start, descending. But you're going to come in here with nonsense like that? Why proves Earth is flat?
It's curved, Neil, but it's just so big. The curve is flat, mate. You know what I mean?
I won't even argue in the curve part where you start saying, well, you don't know. It's flat. It's measured that way. You have the pitch data. I mean, it's all documented. You're flying over a flat plane. End the story.
Yes, there's two different types of people. The one person is sat on the aeroplane and says, excuse me, can you just explain something to me? When they level the plane off at 30,000 feet and remain in straight and level flight till we arrive at our destination, does that mean that it actually curves? Now, that's the one type of person. The other person says, in their mind, I wonder if I flirt with that hostess if she'll join the Mile High Club with me in the toilets. I wonder. One of those people is happier than the other.
Again, any videos to go through today or anything?
I don't know. I've been working my little socks off, moving the acoustic treatment around. So what's on camera now was formerly spread across this whole wall. Well, I've had to take it all to pieces and then rebuild it back up in one corner. And then I've temporarily wedged one giant panel, the first one I ever bought, vertically behind me. And that's all I've done since yesterday's show ended. Moved acoustic treatment around, fiddled with cleats, or whatever you call them, French clips. I've forgotten what they call them, like picture rail slat things. Mucked around with those, taking them off and putting them on panels and adjusting screws and nails and, like I say, faffing around with acoustic treatment. So,
One deck I did go over with Nathan what we spoke about yesterday, about maybe going through some old stuff, some old rhetoric, some books that are out there, and see how they would be addressed today.
yeah, speaking of which, Level Playing Poems book. Might as well plug it again in case we've got any newbies who have just joined the show. So this is what we've been reading out on the pre-show, and indeed earlier in today's show I read out a bit of it. And a massive shout out to Tamara Cheville for sending me out Flat Earth Fun Facts. This is the book she sent to you, Paula. It's got a note on the inside. Okay. I haven't actually read it through, just the one tab that she highlighted for me. So there's going to be one other book that we cover from Level Playing Poem, who's one of my Patreons. Be sure to check out Patreon if you want to join me there and support this show. I'd be much obliged. But in the case of Level Playing Poem, she sent me 4 books along with a calendar for us to go through, and this is the third of 4. So Flat Earth Fun Facts. Hopefully one of the mods will put a link to this particular book, as we've covered the small and local sun, possibly something that we wouldn't put our name next to here on Flat Earth Debate, but it rhymed. It was part of a poem. So there we go. On the very next page of that book, it's talking about elevation angle measurements and how flat Earth is a prerequisite for those measurements that form things like the heliocentric ball Earth system that's dependent on the flat Earth measurements of things like elevation angles, altitude in general, surface level, parallel eye level, or in the case of the discussion that we're having currently, flight levels.
Yeah, we were just talking about Eric Debate came into it, and a couple of other books. What were the proofs back then? The 200 proofs that Earth is not a spinning water ball, I think it was called. And we're just going through a few of them and just seeing how was it being put forth then? What was the actual proof of this? We noticed that it wasn't 200 proofs of how the Earth's measured flat, which is obviously how you've progressed now with your book, because all roads do lead to a flat Earth and it's measured flat. So we were just looking at that and looking at some things, but there was one author who was talking about and making a fact that the sun isn't far away and it is local. So, you was getting a lot of these stupid feast of nonsense claims. So we were just going through that really and having a chit chat about it and just comparing things and how would we state that one of the points now in this rhetoric, how would it, done the similar thing with that. Doing it with other people.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
And so-called proofs, that's all it was.
You're breaking up a little bit. Yes, I totally get what you're saying. So there's an old school rhetoric where formerly the order of the day was, I'll include the current rhetoric in my explanation for the old school rhetoric. If we measure Earth flat with an elevation angle measurement and don't insert the R value, then it would make the sun close. If, however, we measure the Earth flat with an elevation angle and we do insert the R value, then Earth is far away. So I say, because Earth's flat, this false dichotomy lands on the side of a flat Earth measurement, resulting in a flat Earth, rather than a flat Earth measurement resulting in the addition of an R value. Therefore, the sun is close. Okay, contrast that with Earth's measured flat with elevation angles. It doesn't matter if you believe you're on a ball or not. It's just measured flat. With what, you say? Well, the angles that you measure Earth flat with. Like in this story about measuring flat angles to make a ball, or measuring flat angles to measure flat angles. Both use flat angles. It's prerequisite when you measure angles to the sun or the stars. So when we measure Earth flat with angles, we don't necessarily have to ignore the fact that we've measured Earth flat with the angles and then start inserting R values to flat Earth measurements to suggest that Earth has sphericity, to show how it doesn't work with a local sun that I claim after ignoring the flat Earth angles that I measure Earth flat with, and then infer that the angles that are useless for acquiring heights of the celestial objects like the sun infer that we've got a close sun that I can't measure the distance with, because that triangle changes as I move farther or further away from it at a given time. All things being equal, the altitude of the sun changes when I move away from... No, it doesn't. But the angle can be used to track positional information, form maps, create time systems, derive calendars, all from the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angles that we do measure with the sun, and only the flat Earth angles, because that's how Earth is measured, and always was. Even when you extract out of the box thinking from these flat Earth measurements and turn them into a ball shape that violates the measurements by making the surface curve, therefore not allowing you to acquire the measurements of flat Earth angles that you used to make the ball with when you turn the protractor that you've measured the angles with into the curve of the surface of the ground. But ultimately speaking, we just measure Earth flats, and none of that is actually necessary to go through. We just measure Earth flat. Old school, well, that means the sun's close. No, it means we measured Earth flat with angles. So did they, in this false dichotomy. Everyone's measuring it flat. Why do we need to argue about how far the sun is? But the conclusion isn't that we measure Earth flat, therefore it's flat, when comparing it to their flat Earth measurement with an introduction of an R value that's been presupposed and, if measured, would also require Earth be flat to acquire it. We instead look at how far or near the sun is. Well, that's not a conclusion that's going to prove that we're just measuring it flat anyway. In fact, we did measure it flat, we just ignored it on both sides. That's old school versus new school.
And you could do all that and then say that we've got, the waters are contained by a circular ice wall. That's Antarctica. You could go down that route as well. That's what people used to do back then. After measuring Earth flat, going on to talk about something that they haven't got a clue about.
To Antarctica, we arrive having travelled in straight and level flight, and then we set up our equipment, measure a few flat Earth angles, and then maybe ask a few flirts how they work on a flat Earth.
Yeah, that's the rhetoric, and it's getting a little annoying. You can't just continue to ignore all the flat Earth measurements that you bring to the table. By the way, the table's flat as well. But whatever you bring, it's going to be on a plane. And once you get through your heads, then maybe you could work it through and realize that we live on a plane, and it's not really a big deal.
Or when they're trying to explain this ball that they think they live on, don't be using terms like, altitude, miles, sea level, horizontal, vertical, plumb, perpendicular. You've got to be careful with your wording now, globe believers.
Yeah, and the key one you said is altitude, one deck. Focus on altitude. I mean, that's a flat plane reference. You cannot get an altitude. How can you maintain a steady altitude? The Earth must be a plane. The Earth is a plane. That's how we get altitude.
Yeah, altitude, like most things, is a flat Earth prerequisite. It's perpendicular to a plane. That's what up, altitude, height. All of these things are an axiomatic flat Earth prerequisite. You need the horizontal plane to be at 90 degrees to measure in an upward vector if you're travelling in that direction, or ascribe a plumb line, or describe an altitude, or detail or measure an elevation angle. All things to do with the axes in a Euclidean principle. When you describe how high something is, that's perpendicular to the plane. That's what that axis is. That's what that height is. That's what that elevation angle is. That's what you're measuring. That's how Earth is measured. That's how we derive all these systems. So it's like, who cares if you want to argue about this? It doesn't matter if you say that the principle that is seated in Euclidean geometry is violating it. Like, no, we have spherical. Okay, it's just geometry, and they must obey these axioms. Now, when we measure Earth with these axioms, that's to say we're describing altitude, we are automatically adhering to them. Doesn't matter if you want to say that we're not verbally. It's just a mathematical axiom that you're utilising when you describe height. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. Earth is just measured flat. It doesn't matter if you disagree or dislike it. It's just how it's done.
Nathan, if I take a flight, let's say to California, that's a good long distance from New York. That's 3,000 miles. When that plane levels off at, say, 30,000 feet, and I travel at least 2,000 of those miles at 30,000 feet. Hello? Why do I have to explain anything any further? If the penny don't drop there, then it's never going to drop.
Be that second person. You know, instead of looking at the legs of the hostess, you're going, I wonder if they serve gin and tonic on this flight. Can I get shit-faced for free?
I noticed that the pilot is very relaxed over there.
Yeah.
Like I keep saying, Earth is measured flat, but not only that, Earth is flat for the measurements thereafter. Now we've got something called sea level. Sorry, I mean mean sea level. Now that was just here on Earth. It's level. Now the average levelness has been measured, but it was level anyway to start with, to give us the baseline, the 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. That's what we was given to work with. It was level. Simple as that.
Yeah, imagine God giving us the freaking globe and saying, "Go ahead, build cities on this." Made it easy for us, you know? Hello. It's the only way you can do it.
But then you get people, ball believers. I was explaining sea level, like I said to you yesterday, Neil, and some ballers said, well, you've got different tides one deck. So, you know, if you've got one piece of string at a tide at high tide and you extend that string to a tide at low tide, are you telling me that string's level? I mean, this is what we're up against, guys.
It's back to that pedestal they want you on. Are you telling me? Like, why would you need me to be telling you anything? Why don't you go out, figure it out? You know, because I don't give a shit about you anymore. I'm not telling you anything. Get lost. What's that? No, you are. You're telling me. Now, that implies that I give a crap about you knowing. And I don't. Not anymore. Don't care. You want to believe you're on a ball? Feel free. Won't change what it is. Won't change how it's measured. We are inconsequential. Us putting each other on pedestals and asking each other, are you telling me blah, blah, blah? Nah, not anymore. I think those days are over.
But they don't want to leave.
Yeah, I know. Some people are stuck in their mental prison and they can't move on from it. And it doesn't matter if they've got an open door in front of them. They can't stroll out the jail cell. They're just like, no, I need to insult the jailer. Okay, you do that. Yeah, these people pop you on a pedestal, don't they? Are you telling me? Yeah, you need me to be telling you, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you said, Nathan. It becomes about you, the other person, not the topic. Yeah, they try and build you up and then try and knock you down or ad hominem attacks. It's never about the actual measurements with these people, and that's all we're talking about, the measurements. It seems to have really shook them up a little bit, these measurements.
Yes.
I mean, you can't argue with sea level. You can't argue with it. It's level.
But they do. And they come in and they're nonstop. They come in with soccer count after soccer count, no matter what you tell them. Please go get a life. Go in peace. Okay, you believe you're on a globe. That's fine. We don't care. We know it's measured flat. Why are you bothering us? We're just trying to hang out here and have a good time talking about things. Promoting Nathan's book. Promoting the channel. It's been on for over 10 years, this Flat Earth debate. Pretty powerful channel.
They just need a little blessing. Radius Dominus, Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus Arwin. Go in peace. In R we trust.
Got a guy coming in. They just don't stop and learn from each other. No, we can't learn from you because you are a moron. Now you can sit still and listen because we are actually telling you what's what.
Yeah, we just defer to your exemplary knowledge. So from now on, when you're like, are you telling me? Know this. I defer to your exemplary knowledge on the matter. You know best. Good for you. Thank you. Thank you for being the arbiter of such things. And you can know that we defer to your superior intellect and knowledge of Earth's surface. Thank you so much. I wonder if they get beer on this flight. They get beer? Do we get a glass with the beer?
Thing is, though, they did learn us, Nathan. We'd missed it in the beginning. They did when he was sending us the globe proof, apparently, with, a guy measuring angles, Greek guy measuring angles and distance along the surface of Earth, and another guy measuring elevation angles to mountains, and then, measuring depression angles from eye level to surface level. That was realization that actually the Earth's being measured flat in every instance, in every example. So everything they say will be a flat Earth proof. Without a doubt. You can't get away from it because you've got to deal with sea level in the beginning. And it's level. So there's no way out of this. You're trapped.
Nathan, I got a technical question for you. This guy's saying,
about acoustic treatment?
No. It's about what's happening. He's saying that when he types his messages, he can't see them. When I type, I can see what I write, but if I close the chat and open it, all my messages aren't there. Just wanted to see if I've been blocked for any reason. My chat name appears as DJD637.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. Are you a baller? Because if you're the one sending some of these retarded comments, I'm timing them out. If that's the case,
I don't intend to manage my own chat. I have people for that. I'm sorry. I'll speak to one of the moderators. You're a moderator, right, Neil? He needs to appeal to you, and he's already made his way to the right person, hasn't he?
oh, I take that back. He said, here, I'm reading down where he says, been listening for years and love you guys and the show and everything about it. If you can help, please accept my apologies for contacting you directly. Many thanks, Davy Jones. I'll look into it. Okay.
Sweet. If there is a mistake, I need the channel name that your account's under. So if you've got a YouTube channel name, I can make my way to it and unban you if necessary. But it's a pain in the ass. But I do need to actually find the channel's homepage. So for me, it's Nathan Oakley 1980 homepage. And on that, you can go into the little three dots on the right, and there's a flag. And then you click on the flag, and then you say unhide from channel. That's the only way to actually do it. There's no universal full list of people. And the one that YouTube provide doesn't work or function correctly. So it doesn't actually take somebody from the position where they can't see their chat if they've been banned to being able to. So it's like, if you ever contact me about being unbanned from a YouTube live chat with a particular account, I need the full channel name exactly as it is. So I can type it in and find my way to it as a search. If I can't, and I type it in, there's 50 of the million videos that are under the same name. Like Davy Jones, suddenly you've got a bazillion different Disney clips. Then it's like, well, I'm never going to find that. You need the exact channel name for me to be able to find my way to your channel, to click on the little flag and unhide you from the channel if one of the moderators has accidentally hit you, for example. So there you go. Now you know.
Yeah, he's going to send it to me, and then I'll private message you, see what you could do.
Well, I'm glad we've rounded out the live show with such excitement. Go ahead. Sorry, one day.
It'd be nice to have somebody. Sorry, it'd be nice to have some of these guys get more involved on the chat side. Our Discord and these other guys, instead of on the text, just jump in, have a chat with us about how you're finding the new rhetoric, how you're dealing with it. Are you naturally flowing this way? And how let's have a chat about these things. Jump in. Let's talk. It's good to talk.
That used
They
to be
won't talk because they're probably people that have been on here. Now they're using sock accounts. They know how it's going to end, right? So now what's happening is they just want their rhetoric in the chat, because there are new people that come in, and these newbies, they want to poison with their nonsense. When we're just saying Earth is measured flat because it is, they want to come in with all of this superior knowledge to confuse them.
I don't necessarily mean these guys with the soccer accounts. I mean the guys who are just in Discord, who are the flat Earth guys. DJ, the guy, whoever's in Discord, who we know. We'll have a chat.
I mean, I do a proper shout out for the, expanding the live stream panel by sharing the show. But there's a link, I plug it every single time I start the show. If you want to join the panel, you just click on the link and join us in Discord, and you can immediately start being heard in the live stream. You can go, "Hello, Mum! I'm on the Flat Earther show! Can't believe it!"
No, that's what happened to me my first time on. I wish I could find that show. No one that got his fair taste of it. Get rid of this one guy.
On the first time I got on the show.
You got told to shut up. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Shut this one deck up.
Interrupted my conclusion.
Look, I'm a very nice host. On that note, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Jolly good, jolly good. Hopefully do a bit more of the read-through today. I'll find out from my wife momentarily if that's going to be imminent or not. If so, it'll be a short after show. Hopefully there's not a load of dead air in the meantime. We will see. You never know. It's exciting though.
Sorry, I'm writing my own stuff. I just been thinking about that guy in chat. He's very persistent. He reminds me of a Bevite, if it's not Bev himself or Bear. He's just coming. He just comes with the same crap they've been coming with. It can't be flat if it's an arc length and stuff like that. It can't be flat if it works. If it doesn't work on the map, it's just bull. And you get it down, all these arguments they have down to like one sentence to just, keep everybody else afloat. That's all I'm trying to do in chat is just remind people that these people are bull.
Yeah, like I said in the chat, if they come in sincere, they're asking questions they want to know, you have a chat. If they're coming in the same day, just spewing the same rhetoric, they're going to get timed out, especially with their stupid names. Neil's son thinks Neil is simple. You think you're going to get a message in with that? With me as a moderator? Fuck out of here.
That's all they got, Neil. Just add Tom in a text so we get a reaction. Because we haven't got any measurements of a globe, so this is what it's come to.
It goes back to what you were saying yesterday about how bad they were, or about how hard their pain was, how hard they were feeling their pain. They have to lash out because of it.
Yeah, and all because
Yeah, you
they've
solve
got...
a troll. That's the remedy.
They're at the top of the dweeb tree, right? They've learned all this dweeby stuff. We stand in opposition to their dweeby stuff. And they want to defend it. Because they can lord it over normal people in society who haven't bothered learning this stuff. So it's valuable to them. It's the only thing they had to talk about.
Nathan, you are 100. Nathan is on point. Because if I read some of these things to you, these are guys that are fart sniffing bosses. And all they want to do is, like you said, lord it over the next man.
Don't forget, though, this must be really strange for him because it's only been recent. This rhetoric has now, come to the forefront. They're not used to this. This is alien.
Yeah, they used to us arguing with them about it.
Yeah, they don't know how to cope with this rhetoric. It's really thrown them. It's like, what do we do with this? What can we do about this? Now, this wasn't expected. Like, wow.
Yeah, they're used to us going back and forth with them, which some people in the chat do, but our chat's pretty proper. They just give them a couple of this. Oh, yeah, flat plane, correct. Yeah, that's right, use a flat plane. But, yeah, they want us to argue back. It's non-Euclidean, Euclidean. Shut up. Shut up. Go realize freaking Euclid somewhere else. Come up with something yourself, how about? Unbelievable. Never thought that measured flat would cause so much of a disruption throughout this topic or the community, whatever you want to say. I really didn't think it would cause this much adversity.
It's good. I mean, without a bit of pushback, these things can get whistled past much easier. So the fact that certain individuals find it offensive, want to push back against it, you're like, well, you're causing a steam in this teacup. I'm saying it's inconsequential as a result of figuring out that it's measured flat. It doesn't matter if we have the discussion, but you want to kick up a storm in a teacup, you're just going to drag a little bit of attention over here. Well, if you're trying to dispel it, then you're not going to do that if you're drawing attention to it. So it's actually Streisand effect that they're achieving. Idiots.
Yeah, it's like we've got a new martial art. You know, they've never come across this martial arts before, and it's just like, wow, because no one else is doing this except for us, really. I mean, I do. Yeah, there is some flat earthers on the other servers who, they do occasionally talk about celestial navigation. I think that was even in where it was banned off a list or something once, but it is spoke about. But not. There's still a lot of talk about, Coriolis, gravity, refraction indexes, and all that palaver.
Well, you got Alfred Murphy 72 sitting right in Discord, right? And I'm sure he's feeding the show to some people, but you're free. Has your wife allowed you to come off the mic? I mean, you are sitting in something called voice chat. Hear my words, voice chat, Alpha Murphy 72.
That's a bit mean. His wife does keep him a bit under the thumb and tell him what he should or shouldn't be doing. He told us that, didn't he? About the permissions that he had or hadn't achieved. That's a bit mean. I mean, because you do actually know that for a fact. That he's a cuck.
Yeah, we came to this conclusion while we were jerking each other off, remember?
If he comes on, Neil, the moment it gets to measurements on his behalf, talking about Earth measurements, he'll be talking about how Earth's measured flat. He knows that. He knows that's going to happen. He will be explaining elevation angles. He'll be talking about latitude. Yeah, and the elevation angle to and from Polaris. Sorry, my tongue twisted there. So he will be giving examples of flat Earth. Even if he goes back to his, his apparent globe proof 2,000 years ago with Eratosthenes, that's a flat Earth proof. So as soon as he talks about measurements, he's snookered himself.
He does right away, immediately. He comes in with the measurement immediately. That's what was funny about it. And came with 3 or 4 more after that. Then denied directionality when Nathan brought up a compass. So what do you do with somebody like that? We know his game. We know why he's sitting in there. We sniffed it out, like Tally Z sniffed it out. He said, well, at least you found your Fredo. And he's right. But I don't acknowledge these people anymore. And it's driving them crazy.
Well, if you can't come on with the actual so-called globe proof without mentioning how flat Earth's measured, the next best thing they've got is to try and annoy you and call you names to get attention like a little child. That's what children do.
Yeah, you come in with freaking a chat name like Neo Protects the Gullible. He's calling all you guys gullible. They need not my protection. We're irrelevant in this. And so are you. It's just measured flat. That's it.
Not many globers left now, is there?
No, they've been segregated away from us. That doesn't mean there isn't many left. The majority of the world population are globers.
Maybe I meant anti-flat earthers coming onto the show. They're not, I think they've all hid under rocks somewhere on the horizontal plane. Not seen heard of John for a while. Refracted. Is he all right?
Yeah, I think he's busy. I think he was looking for other work closer to him. Just that other job he had didn't work out. But yeah, that's a perfect example. Poor guy. They bring up flat earth to him and he loses his freaking job.
What's that, mate?
When the flat earth was mentioned, he wound up losing his job over it. People started talking,
Bloody hell.
Either that or we had to leave the church. It was one or the other. I don't remember. Nathan, do you remember what happened with Refracted?
As in him getting sacked?
Yeah, when he didn't something about him speaking about flat earth to somebody.
I think that is just the full story. He talked about flat Earth and got fired.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Yep, that was it. Exactly. Said it to the wrong guy and they fired him.
Can't do that, surely. That's unfair dismissal, isn't it? Straight away.
Yeah, and when Ted Mann brought it to a couple of people like you're supposed to do in a church, he got labeled as one of them people that sows discord. Oh, you're one of them flat earth guys. No, we don't discuss that here. So what do? We're the outcasts of society, I guess. The ones that actually know what Earth is, we're the outcasts. Go figure.
Well, probably still in the minority, aren't we, at the moment? Why?
Well, we are and we aren't. There is an alliance with the people who talk about measuring Earth flat, mapping it flat, flying over it flat.
Yep.
It's just never drawn attention to that there is a level of cognitive dissonance that must be in place for you to simultaneously, as Jin said it, well, it must still believe he's on a ball. Well, yeah, but they've just described measuring it flat regardless.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I have something for you. NASA's Artemis 2 mission is scheduled to launch on April Fools. How about that? 2026. If that's not a message, I don't know what is. They're literally calling us fools. There's going to be people standing there watching this launch. Let me finish reading. With a crew of 4 astronauts, including Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, aiming to orbit the moon. This mission marks a significant step towards establishing a sustainable human presence on the moon, with plans for future crewed missions to Mars. Want to know more about Artemis? The Artemis program or upcoming lunar missions? You can log right in here. They are mocking us, boy. April Fools, huh? New Year's Day, you're going to launch something to a violation of natural law. Okay. Or to an area that violates natural law.
That's not mocking us, by the way. It's mocking them. Those who are external to us. The ones I was
Well, I
concerned
mean
about.
people. When I say us, I mean people. Yeah, we know it's bullshit, but there's a lot of people that don't know, Nathan, and they're waiting for this. There's a lot of people waiting for this, and they say, we'll show you flat earthers when we land on the moon again.
I mean, even if I was a glober and I believed that you could go to the moon in a rocket, I wouldn't go down to the beach in Florida and start screaming and shouting like some possessed idiots because the rocket's got in the air going, yay, and clapping and jumping up and down like a fool. I wouldn't do that, even if I was a globe believer.
Let me ask you a question. What does that have to do with Earth and its flatness?
Well, if you're going to, what altitude will the rocket reach from sea level?
Correct. The telemetry data would reveal a flat Earth when it describes the altitude.
Yeah, so what are they getting all excited about?
The rocket's just left flat Earth. Yay!
unless they're going to turn around and show you the blue marble. And they say, that's it, the deal is done. We've shown you where you live. 4 astronauts have shown you where you live. Their names are Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. Now, these 4 people will show you that you live on a sphere because they're going to take a picture.
Pictures can't be, doctored or anything.
I think they're going to try to show a video.
Well, you remember what I was saying? What they're gonna show the what flat earthers have been asking for years: antipodal ships and planes. That's what they're gonna show. That's what I heard through the grapevine. And you give flat earthers what they want: video of a ship, antipodal.
They've been pre-programming that kind of view for probably decades in the movies. When you see the Earth and then it zooms in and then, camera goes in the side of a window of an apartment. So they'll just have a really good CGI and then it'll send all the flat earthers into the conspiracy. Let's do date and time and try to figure out if that was exactly.
And they will.
Yeah, and that boat really on the Atlantic or South Pacific or whatever? Is that exact time?
According to my calculations on this flat Earth, the ship could not have been in that position.
It'll be on sea level, wherever it is.
Well, and the video will have been claiming to be taken from a vacuum. So, yeah, we'll try something.
And don't forget, that film don't work in space, according to Jin. And even if you could, surf that. You're a photographer. What was Jin saying? The film don't work in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, that's true. If you take a roll of film and put it in a vacuum, then, a strong enough vacuum, then the emulsion will bubble and distort. And then, of course, temperatures,
They have anti-vacuum film. Have you not heard of it?
Yeah, they took a Hasselblad with special film. And
You never seen the original Batman with Adam West? On his belt, he'd have all the contraptions he needed, no matter what situation he was in. That's NASA. We got a anti-vacuum film.
not a bad analogy, actually.
No.
They're lying when they have so many details that are so specific that your mind just kind of blanks out on, well, they must know what they're talking about if they've got, special haptic sensors that do this and that, and they're temperature calibrated and blah, blah, blah. And there's, a 0.001 tolerance on the zippers on the spacesuits. And, the more details, the more they're lying. It's like when someone lies, they give you too many details about their alibi. And they're lying.
But they also drop themselves in it with the likes of the previous moon missions where the meant to have went through the alleged Van Allen belts, but now on the latest Artemis missions, that has been the issue that they've been trying to overcome. Whereas in the past, before they knew about the radiation belts, it wasn't an issue.
That's not that's the torus field, mate. That's the magnetic torus field wrapped around the inertial plane, mate, of planet Earth. That's what that is.
Yeah, I'm thankful that we're beyond the ninja stage of trying to explain how the Glover claims are actually feasible on the flat earther claims. The gas pressure without a container, or the gas pressure requires a container or containment, is all you need to claim. You don't need to go into, well, what about the dome? What's it made of? How high is it? Blah, blah, blah. Pressure gradients. No, you just need a container or pressure.
You don't need container, mate. Just go outside.
Bite me. Yeah. That's where I'm at for that answer. Just bite me. Whatever, dude. you know it's bad when you all you get for level and horizontal doesn't mean it's flat. That is their only reply. And I'm like, dude, horizontal is horizontal, level is level. Do you have a problem with that? Is that not true? Yeah, but it just doesn't mean the earth is flat. Just because we have a horizontal reference doesn't mean the earth is flat. Okay? So synonyms are a problem for you. And what more can I say?
Yes. Right, too many long protracted silences. Looks like we are going to round out early. So huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's rather short after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.